The goal of this video is to design and make the best climbing hold that anyone can make. Now, if this sounds interesting to you, let's get into it. Yeah! Before we get into the design and making of it though, I really feel like we need to talk about the what is. What is a climbing hold and what are some of the ways that you can make it? So let's jump out here into the shop and talk about that. So right here we have the 2025 Mini Moonboard. It's got some amazing holds on here. These are some polyurethane holds, wooden holds. These are some holds that I've made, some little screw-ons to fill in. And it really shows the different ways and different types of bolts that you can use on climbing holds. So these polyurethane holds start life out like what we have up here. Got to be gentle with these. Carved foam, where you create the shape that you want. And then you have to make a mold out of silicone. Let me show you that. Messy shop right now. So this is a silicone mold. And then you pour your resins. I've got some resins under here. And you make your mold that way and your climbing hold. That's actually not the easiest way to make a hold, and especially not good for your average DIYer home wall owner. I think the best way is going to be a wooden hold just like this. Now let's talk about the bolts. There's two different types of bolts that are used in climbing holds. You have the first one, which is often referred to as a Martini bolt. It is a flush head countersunk bolt, machine screw. And then you have your socket head cap screw like this guy right here. Now this one I think is going to be a little bit better. I think it's easier to tighten the holds down nice and tight and get them exactly positioned the way that you want. The problem with this one is the holds tend to grab onto this fluted side right here, this angle, and it just seems a little bit harder to get it tight and avoid your spinners. We're gonna go with this one. Now let's talk about materials. Even though it can be really fun to carve foam climbing holds, it doesn't stop there. You can't just carve your foam and then bolt it to the wall. There's a long process that's involved in getting this foam to a climbing hold. So as fun as it is to shape with this foam, and it does give you a great product, we're also not going to do it out of foam. Doing it out of different hardwoods is going to be another great way. There's some beautiful climbing holds that I've seen out there that you guys have made, and they're fantastic. But I don't think it's as duplicatable. I don't think you can copy it as well unless you have some advanced tools. So that brings us to this, plywood. This is just scrap plywood. It's 3/4 inch plywood. It's commonly used in cabinet making, and it is the stuff that you're going to build your climbing wall out of. So if you've built a climbing wall, you most likely have some scrap 3/4 inch plywood hanging around. So this is what we're going to use to make our wooden holds that anyone can make. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's get into the design. We want to make the best climbing hold for anyone, and that is going to be a jug.
Jugs are forever.
Jugs are forever. I like that. So we're going to design a jug that's going to be super simple to make out of plywood. So this is my thought. If we take a piece of scrap plywood that's about 12 inches wide, so we're going to say this is 12-ish inches. And we take this piece and we cut a 30-degree miter there. And we come somewhere over here. We cut another 30-degree miter there. We're going to end up with these 3 pieces. So if we have our bottom piece right there, and then we have our next piece, something like that, stacked right on top of it, and then we have our next piece, that's going to give us, I think, a pretty good jug. Now we're also going to need to put a little angle, cut a little angle on this one here, so that we can make a nice rounded area here that's going to be nice and ergonomical for you to use, because this is going to be for training. I think that indoor climbing holds are for training. There's no reason to make a hold that's going to be sharp and potentially injure you, in my opinion. We'll step out here into the workshop and get going. So we've got a nice big scrap pile, just little pieces. We can use that one, and I kind of rummaged through it earlier. Now I am going to be using this table saw to make this first model. And this is an old table saw. This is probably from the 70s, maybe even the 60s. The point is, you don't need a table saw. You can do this with a circular saw. It will be just a little bit harder. When I'm using a table saw, I always make sure that my blade is not sticking up too much out of the top of the piece. So I lower it down. So it's about 3/16, maybe a 1/4 inch, somewhere in there above the top of my piece. That way when the back of the blade is rotating up, it's actually not pushing it so much up away from the table. Push board, it's the best thing. Silly me. I've just ran into the first problem here, and that is this middle piece that's going to be angled on both sides actually needs to be quite a bit longer or wider than 4 inches. Let me measure. I'm going to give you all the measurements. I'm just going to line this up. Let's see. After I've got all this design figured out, I'm going to go ahead and drop an article on ClimberDad.com where you can get all of these measurements for free. I want you to be able to make this. I want this super accessible, and there is a reason why you're going to need to stay subscribed to the channel and checking it out. So let's get back into designing here. Come on! Whoa, that's what you get when you're using a 50-year-plus old saw. And it still works pretty good most of the time. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yes, I think that's looking really good. Oh, look at this profile, baby. Yeah. This is going to be good. We're not going for a sexy looking climbing hold. We're going for a good climbing hold. This is going to be something that's super easy for anyone to use and anyone to make. That's the goal. Unlike that shot that I just tried to make, I think that we're getting this hold down really good. We're getting our goals. We now need to mark out where we're going to drill our holes. Would you like a drill bit? Drill bit. It's usually a 1-inch bit that we need for this washer to nest into this board. So this will be the side that is away from the climbing wall, the first piece that you're going to see, and we're going to flip that upside down. Oh yes, nice. I would recommend setting this up so you use the socket head cap screw. This is the standard bolt that comes with climbing holds. And I say that because this is a little bit of an investment on these bolts. They are much more expensive than your regular hex head bolt. However, if you don't want to make this investment, you can go ahead and set this up so you can use this type of bolt on these holds. So we just drilled a little bit of a hole using our 1-inch spade bit. If you're going to use the cheap bolts that has just a regular hex head, you're now going to grab a 7/8 paddle bit and drill out this hole. Now I want to use the regular bolt. I'm going to invest in that, and I would actually encourage you to invest in those bolts as well. However, it is up to you. If you want to get the hex head bolts and then later on down the road upgrade, that's okay. But we're gonna go with this right off of the bat. We want to go with a 5/8 inch spade bit. That's going to be just enough for this bolt to sit down there nice in that hole. And we're going to get some scrap board and set underneath it. That's for two reasons. We don't want to drill into our work surface, and this is also going to help splitters from blowing out on the backside. So now we're just going to go straight right in the middle there. We have hardly no blowout. I've moved over to my workbench. I should have moved over here when I was drilling these holes, but I was so excited to get this done for you guys. I love this workbench. It is built out of scrap climbing wall. The back right here is panels that were removed from Clarksville Climbing Gym. Oh! The base here is scrap pieces from multiple climbing wall projects that there are scraps that get thrown away. And I patched them together to make this fun little workbench. That shows how much I enjoy working with 3/4 inch plywood. It's just, you can just do a lot of stuff with it. Now enough rambling on, let's go ahead and get going. Make sure your clamps are ready. I like to spread out my glue because I want it to be a really good, strong connection. So I want every surface to have a nice amount of glue on it. It really doesn't need to be piled up, but it needs to have glue on it and that surface tension broken. So we're gonna smear it on there, both sides. All right. We just want to line this up as good as we can. There we go. That's better. When I first started making holds like this, I actually wanted to have the mechanical connection of that screw to add the strength, but I really don't think that it's necessary because the bolt is holding that together as well. But that top piece, the cap, it is not. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really excited for this climbing hole. This is gonna be awesome, but we gotta let it dry. So we'll come back in a little while after this is dried and we'll finish it up. All right, the glue is now dry on this and it's time to start over again because I forgot to put these washers inside. Darn it. Well, let's start over. Okay, off camera, I went ahead and found some more scrap plywood. Actually, it's a little bit bigger pieces. This is cabinet grade pine. It's gonna be easier to finish. It's a little softer. And I'm gonna have 8 holds out of this long of a board. That's really exciting. And I'm gonna start with these washers. I'm gonna put all these washers in first before we do anything else. And I recommend you do the same so you don't have to discard any scrap wood from making a mistake. So we'll go ahead and put these washers in. I did use a Forstner bit when I drilled these out. It's a little tighter. Wow, that is so tight. It holds these washers nicely, except for that one, it doesn't. I guess they're different sizes. But that's okay. I'm gonna go grab some more washers. To make sure that we don't mess up our washers, I'm gonna do the same glue up except in reverse. I'm gonna have the cap down on the base here. I'm gonna make sure that I line up the front of that where our hands will be grabbing, so that will be easier to finish. So it's gonna look like this. I might actually put some screws in here too. So I'll glue this up. I'll turn it back on as soon as I get some more footage so I can show you guys what I'm talking about when I say I'm gonna put some more screws in here just to help hold it. And we can get this done a little bit faster with those screws in there. We got that glue spread out on there. I'm gonna flip this back over. Now the cap is on the workbench here. I'm gonna take a 1 1/4 inch screw. They're gonna be buried in there forever. It would be smart to go ahead and mark that out on this middle piece before you glue it up, and that way if you do want to put in these screws, you'll be able to put them in the exact spot that they need to be in. Pinch it down. I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to scribe a line right along the face here. Now you're not going to see that because it's going to be right on that edge. However, it's going to allow us to get a nice bead of glue down here so everything is glued up nicely, because we want everything glued up nicely. Oh yeah. Right up to that pencil line with that glue. Okay. Whoops. I hear that glue squishing out of there. That's great. We'll clean up the glue a little bit, let it sit up, and then we'll come back to the spot that I thought we were for the other one. Oh dear. So I've got a 7/16 inch drill bit. I'm gonna chuck this up into my hand drill and drill these holes. I know there's some of you out there that just, you can't drill a straight hole to save your mom. So if you can't drill a straight hole, ask a friend. Maybe I wasn't drilling a straight hole. Now the next step is everybody's favorite part. And that's just kidding, I'm just kidding. This is nobody's favorite part, and that is sanding. You can see we've got some sharp edges. We want to take those edges and just round them right over. Now I have this orbital sander that would make this really quick and good. However, I don't want to use all of the tools that I have. I want to make sure that this is going to be simple, and I already cheated with the table saw, so I'm not going to cheat again with the orbital sander. I'm going to sand this down by hand. Sanding, right? Just imagining this by itself as like a massive hold on the wall, like, oh, it would actually be pretty cool to have some huge jug rail like this, but we're gonna cut it up into small ones. Now, if you're planning on making a lot of these holds for your own home wall, a chop saw like this would be a pretty good investment if you don't already have one. There it is. But you don't need a chop saw like this. And I've already cheated with the table saw, so I'll go ahead and get out the circular saw to cut the rest of these down. I've got a clamp. We're gonna just bring this out from the workbench just a little bit, and we're gonna clamp it down. Got our skill saw here. We're gonna set it all the way down. Now, a trick that I like to just make sure that everything stays up square is I put my speed square right here on there. I'm gonna line up where these holes go, or where the blade is supposed to go. So now that we've got our hold, and we'll just go ahead and repeat that all the way down. We gotta sand this edge down, nice and round. There we go. We have all of these sanded, they're finished now, so it's time to go back into the office. We were able to make 8 of these puppies really easy, even with the problems from, you know, going at it first with design and then mess ups. But that's okay. We were able to get it done. In an upcoming video, I'm gonna go ahead and throw these on the wall and we'll test them out and see how they climb. But I think that they're gonna be really good. This is a part of a much bigger project that you're gonna have to be subscribed with the notification bells on so you don't miss out. So I hope to see you again on this journey of making these simple wooden climbing holds. There is a bigger purpose here. So hit subscribe, like, and I will see you next time right here on Climber Dad.
Thanks for watching.
And I gotta teach myself how to talk too. Yeah. Let's see. With this foam, and it does give you a great product.